Hello again, Struck Club. Have a great 2020 from me, and here is my first build video for the new year. It would be a poison build for Elessa. I've decided to call it Poison Blades build, but you can call it whatever you like. It's using the Queen's Chosen set, which is the poison set, and it is ideally gonna stack shit tons of cooldown reduction to be able to proc the poison blade. This comes from the Master Archer bow, from the Ring of the Guardian, and from the Ember Talisman. Be advised that when you're seeing this footage, it's in KO7, but I did not have the ideal rows I wanted on some of the items. So things can get better, but this build would not be as high damage build as some of the builds from the other classes I've posted, and that I will be posting in the next few days as well, as I did come up with more builds for other characters too. You can see it's very nice when you use the woes to keep rebounding the blade so it can keep hitting an enemy. So this is a perfect situation where you have the enemy right next to you, and between you two, actually on both of your sides, there are some woes. You can see up to 19, 20, I've even done 27 or something crits with this setup, and as I said, it could get better, it could get more spammy, but I believe the main strength of the way I set up the build is that it can survive. It has a lot of health regeneration to get up to 500 and more % extra damage from Executors. When you're standing in the same place, you can keep spamming those brabmles to keep poisoning the enemy, and the best thing about the brabmles is, even though they don't do that much of a damage, they still add up to the total damage, and they still can proc with crits the Master Archer bow, and they can proc the Ring of Guardian, and they can proc the Amber Talisman. So it's always good to stack those brabmles in between. We're using traps, and actually one trap for damage reduction with low cooldown, and one summon just to keep proccing the Duelist chain reaction together with the spinning blades. So yeah, it's not the meta setup, but it is a fun one, and I hope you enjoyed. So stay tuned and check the skills and god skills. The skills I've picked up for this build are a bit more on the defensive side, and let's go through all of them and why I've picked them. Master Archer, I believe it's the best one for quickly regenerating energy, but if you like any of the other energy generators, feel free to swap it out. Spinning Blade, yeah, it's the main source of damage, I believe. If you keep the cooldown low enough, and this can be done with better gear than mine, you can keep spamming this. The damage is okay, and together with Duelist chain reaction we can get it even higher. Hungry Roots gives us damage reduction, and it's a very low cooldown, which also allows us to keep proccing Duelist chain reaction. So this Call of the Spirits I'm only using because I want a skill with cooldown for Duelist chain reaction. So we have 1, 2, 3 skills with cooldown, 1 energy spender, and a god skill. The god skill is only used for the health regeneration. That's why it's the basic version of Queen's Wrath. You could try using Queens of Wisher, but I do think Queen's Wrath is the better option. Blessing of the Forest, health regeneration, perfect, gives us damage. This one gives very good damage and health regeneration, like damage reduction and health regeneration. So pretty nice, especially if you can keep your HP regenerated to the maximum. So every time you take a hit, it's benefiting from that damage reduction. This one, a bit of movement speed, again extra damage reduction, but you have to be tactical rolling, so you have to be using your spacebar, your archetype ability to proc this. This one is pretty nice if you have a lot of enemies around you, if you want to play a bit more static, and it sometimes does work to play a bit more static, especially in the lower difficulties. You shouldn't have much problems. And then this one, again, more health regeneration and damage reduction when the familiar creates that field, that green field, which this one, this is the field I'm talking about. So yeah, as I said, Duelist chain reaction, great source of damage. So the legendary ranks, you want either legendary punishment or legendary reinforcement, or one of those two, endurance or crushing. Those are the things that would either give you damage or damage reduction, or both. I was using this one when recording the footage, but you might wanna experiment. And that sums it up. Now let's show you some of the god skills. The god skills are kind of mixed up in both the old and new god skill tree. In the new god skill tree, all we want is to push it all the way here to this health regeneration node, and then what we want on this side is to push it here to this cooldown reduction. I think this works better than pushing it to this cooldown reduction, because we do get Hunting Feast. Alternatively, you can try instead of with Hunting Feast to play with Assassination. So one setup would be going here, the other setup would be going here. So you can kind of pick whichever setup you want to use. I'm just giving you two options. One of them with Assassination, the other one with Hunting Feast. This one works against bosses, this one works all the time, but you have to be more static and inside the field. We want as much cooldown reduction as we can get, and that is, I think, the way to get it, and as well we want as much health regeneration as we can get. So that's it for the god skills. For the gear that I recommend using with this build, needless to say, it would be the Queen Chosen set. It is the 1 poison damage based set, and it gives us the Spinning Blades Heroic. It is a good set, and you definitely want to get health regeneration on any piece of armor you can. I only have it here and here, but if it can drop on boots, helmet and gloves, you want it there. On the helmet you want cooldown reduction apart from the usual things, armor and health regeneration. So anything else is just not that much of a priority. Armor and health on every piece, together with health regeneration, those three things, and then here you want cooldown, here you want flat damage, which I don't have, you want HP, you want armor, you want crit damage. Damage over time is probably nice for the poison build, it's not gonna hurt you if you can get it. I'm not sure this can get health regeneration, so just go for the stats I mentioned. On the accessories, first of all, let me mention this is not the ring you want to be using. I was using it only because it gives me cooldown reduction and crit chance. It is not bad for maybe a damage over time setup, which didn't do as much damage when I tried it. So what you would want here is either a ring of resonance or something like the ring that gives you 50% damage after critting, which I don't have. Or you might wanna use Iron Bark ring for extra damage reduction to be more static. So decide what you want. Ring of the Spirit is not a bad choice, but make sure you have something with good rolls. And good rolls ideally would be cooldown reduction, crit chance, flat damage, HP and health regeneration for this build. Good mentions would be crit damage and armor piercing. Well, try to get cooldown reduction, crit hit chance, HP, and preferably health regeneration, together with one more stat, maybe. That goes for all accessories. You want Ring of the Guardian and you want Amber Talisman, because you want to be proccing those cooldowns being reduced so you can spam Spinning Blades. You want to combine those with the cooldown reduction with Master Archer Bow, and on the Master Archer Bow you want things like cooldown reduction, flat damage, damage over time, crit damage, armor piercing. That would be perfect for you. You don't really care about cost reduction, you don't really care about damage over time that much either, but it's nice to have it. So if you have to sacrifice damage over time for armor piercing or for crit damage, sacrifice it and do that. When it comes to Executors, you want cooldown reduction, crit chance, flat damage, HP, and maybe again either armor piercing or crit damage, or health regeneration if you can get it. And that kind of sums it up, but when it comes to the blessings, you want the flat damage and HP, which is red, green, red if you want the most damage out of an item, so something like this. On both sides for the most damage. The combo that gives you a bit less damage and more HP is this. and the combo that gives you even more HP but even less damage. It is. This is not so bad because you can still get 3,600 damage and you can get 8,000 HP. So if you want to sacrifice some of the damage, go for that one. Or just go for the balanced version. Up to you how you would do it. Find your balance between damage and HP. And now let's show you some more gameplay because this was it about the gear. Now the way you play the build is kind of simple. You kind of need to dodge every now and then to proc certain things, and you wanna try and stay static as well at certain times, so that you can stack the Guardian Spirit together with the Blessing of the Forest, together with the fields that spawn when you kill a poisoned enemy. So it's definitely a lot of stuff that can stack in the same place, and you also stack those with Queen's Wrath, the God skill. And yeah, it definitely can be a lot of fiat regeneration that can give you up to 500 and even more damage with Executors when you're standing in the right place. But most of the times you would have 300 to 400 damage on Executors, which is still not bad. You're still gonna be seeing crits over 20 million, maybe even close to 30. Of course you have to be careful for things like that not to happen. So make sure you're not standing right in the middle of the attacks unless you're using more damage reduction in the legendary ranks and an iron bark ring. The bosses, some of them would be easy if you use the positioning to your advantage. If there's a wall between the boss and you, actually not between the boss and you, but if the boss is between a wall and you, then yeah, use spinning blade facing the wall 90 degrees so it can rebound and hit the boss again. This is a great way for doing bosses. You can put them in a corner where the wall is pretty close. If the boss wants to move towards you. If it's a more of a static one like this one and it's hard to get it to move, then just ignore that part of the moving and just try and do your thing. Of course, it's better off if you keep spamming the brabmles, which I didn't spam as much here, but at least I spam the other stuff. And make sure to keep spamming your trap. It gives you 10% extra damage reduction and it procs Duelist chain reaction. Make sure to spam the summon because it also procs Duelist chain reaction. So you want to keep the Duelist chain reaction up at all times. Spamming the 3 skills with cooldown and spamming the poison brambles in between and the god skill when it's ready. Definitely fun build to play, but as I said, not the most meta build. I mean, most meta sounds bad, I shouldn't have said that, but yeah, it's not the meta build. And I think this hero in general, Elessa in general, is not a meta character. Currently she's underpowered compared to the others and she does need a boost. So we'll see what the balancing they bring would result in with the upcoming update. And in the meantime, thank you everyone for watching the video again. Have a great 2020. Since this is my first video of the year, I feel it's befitting to wish everyone a happy and great new year. If you've enjoyed the video, feel free to subscribe to my channel to get updated regarding future updates for Warhammer Chaosbane, Torchlight Frontiers, Wosen or Borderlands 3. If you've liked the video, you can also let me know by hitting the like button or leaving me a comment, and the same goes if you didn't like it and hitting the dislike button, and again leaving a comment with feedback about what you didn't like. It does help me improve the content and it is for the better. So thanks again, keep it cool, Struck Club, and until next time, goodbye.